pulled up this first image. I asked you in our previous conversation if you wouldn't mind sharing the first image that you ever put together. And
This one, I took this one while I was still married.
oh, okay.
And this was 1967. And I went to New York. I can't remember for what, but I was standing in the front of the Plaza Hotel where there's a big fountain and trees. And this was the window of Bergdorf Goodman, the great store, looking out onto the plaza. And I love ovals and I love mirrors. So that was, an obvious thing for me to photograph. And I noticed the tree was reflected in the mirror. And then also in the actual window on the outside, you can see the dark reflections around the mirror of the trees, which, aren't in sync exactly. But then there's those four candles, and the whole thing struck me a little bit like an altar. I don't know why. I mean, I had my background at the time as being the chaplain's wife, so that was, Sunday every Sunday the chapel and so on, and meeting constantly ministers and rabbis and priests and so on, which was extremely interesting. I actually learned more about religion in those days than I'd ever known before. Because my family was not observant of anything. My mother was not Jewish and my father was not religious. So we didn't, I mean, we did Christmas and all those things, in a completely secular way. So this picture was sort of the beginning. It meant a lot to me. I don't know why. It's always been important to me.
No, I mean, the image itself is like, it's interesting for you to say that you just took this image, like you're standing in front of a window that's
and then you don't see my reflection anywhere.
Right.
Either the black, either in the dark window reflection or in the mirror at all. So I say, where am I? Which is pretty much what I was thinking in my head also. Where am I? Who am I?
Right. I mean, and the thing is too, is like during this time, even people were starting to do more like sort of photo montage, like, inserting different parts of photographs together, and to know that you just snapped it like in that moment. That's the beauty of photography, right? That you just get to capture these moments of happenstance in some ways.
But something strange. First of all, I've always been slightly put off by all the words attached to photography that are sort of predatory. You say you shoot, you capture, all those words they're not what I feel. I don't feel I shoot. Okay. And I also feel very often that the image sort of takes me, it's in reverse. Something calls me and makes me photograph it, So it's sort of an understanding between me and the subject, whatever it is, whether it's a person or a still life or anything else.
Let's go with that, because I did have a question about the subjects and themes that you were interested in and why. And what you're saying is that the process for you became a bit more intuitive, maybe, instead of it being like you starting out with
Absolutely. I always photographed like from the middle of me, it wasn't here. It went there later in the dark room.
Yeah.
Wow. I sometimes found things on my proof sheets that I could hardly remember photographing. And say, oh, where did that come from? I must have done that. I obviously did it, but it was happened in a flash, sort of.
And okay, I have to ask this question because I'm sure I will get in trouble from the people that are actually photographers out there that will see this later on. What kind of camera did you use to shoot your images? I have to know.
I started out with a little Nikkormat, then I went on to a Nikon, then I went on to 3 Nikons, then I went on to 3 Nikons and 2 Leicas, and then at one point I even had one of those SL, 66 Nike, that Hasselblad, the non-Hasselblad 2.25. I can't even remember the name of it anymore.
Okay.
But it was very heavy and I had to always use a tripod. And it was stolen eventually, so I just didn't replace it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to some of the images that are in the Framing Moments show. And I'm going to tell you that honestly, from the very beginning, when we gave Dr. Willis, we gave her literally our entire collection. And like I said, we have over 900 photographs. And I'm going to tell you, when she first made that first chop, the first sort of selection of images that she wanted.
Mhm.
Girl on a Train really stuck out, and I apologize. I see that now that I've missed that article. But Girl on a Train really stuck out as one of those for me, anyways. I can tell you that she and I talked about lots of different works that are in the exhibition, but this image from the moment I saw it, I was just like, oh, I hope this one makes it, because there were so many other images to choose from, and it really has, and it's even on the cover of our winter sightlines, which you got. I'm so happy you got to see that cover. It's a
I was
beautiful.
shocked. I opened the envelope and all of a sudden I see this picture come up. I didn't know you were going to do that.
No, it's a gorgeous image. Like I said, I've just fallen in love with it. Every time I look at it, I see something different. And actually I can, I want you to talk about it, but I also want to tell you that I have a couple, like something we included, and I should have told you this, that we included this as part of the label about this this particular image. Uh, is is that I'm going to sort of start. It says, you know, in one day, Rubinstein was waiting to catch a train in London, and her camera lens found a young woman on a departing train with its window down. In that instant, the photographer snapped this moment and at the same time created a mystery. Who is this young woman? Where is she going? Right? And then the quote we end the sort of label text is what is a photograph? For me, it is a monologue trying to become a conversation, an offering, an alibi, a salute. And I think it was so apt to put that quote there because this is the beginning of many conversations, as you know how much I love this image. And but I would like some more insight, just how what you were waiting for a train, but like what in that moment just kind of got you to say, okay, no, raise my camera, let me
Well,
take
it's
this image.
simply that this little young girl who is so androgynous, she could almost be a boy, really.
Hmm.
And she has this fierce expression on her face. It's really sort of
Yeah.
very strong. And she appeared there, and I honestly just took the picture very quickly, and she disappeared immediately. There was no chance for even a second shot.
Hmm.
And she just, the look on her face just stopped me cold. Was she looking into her own future or her past? I mean, looking to the left seems to imply past, and looking to the right seems to imply future. But that's our language.
Right. I mean, I am really struck by her androgynousness, right? And just the fact that like for a minute you look here and like, oh, is that a but then you're like, no, this is clearly a woman. And
When I first saw her, I thought she was a boy.
yeah, yeah. But there's something really powerful about it. She looks like she is not to be trifled with, though,
Exactly, exactly.
right? Like not at all. Like she is not.
Wonder who she grew up to be,
Yeah,
and what she's
exactly.
doing now.
Exactly. I love how much like the shade. I mean, like I have a question that I wanted to ask you later, but I guess I can talk about why black and white, versus color now. But I love the tones of this photograph, how dark they are, like how you can even see behind her, like just how the light has hit this image. It's kind of so gorgeous. It's really lush,
Well,
and
the
it's
lighting was amazing because obviously I didn't have I don't use a flash like in the street ever,
mhm.
but the lighting looked as though it was done. It was just perfect on her face.